welcome to part 2, the jungling. If you're just coming into this video and you don't remember part 1, you can go back and watch us talk about objectives. If you did watch part 1 and don't remember, you should probably consider seeing a doctor. But seriously, check it out if you're looking for a deeper dive into some of the other preseason changes. We won't start until you do. I mean, unless you're not going to press pause, in which case we're probably going to keep going. So, monsters have been hitting the jungle gym over the break, coming back with rock-solid abs, ready to crush hearts and break dreams. But we've got some new jungle items and shiny smite upgrades to help you take them down. Joining me in this Safari Zone are Snoopy, Fearless, and Kobe to talk about how the jungle is changing this year and why. Guys, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, hi.
So let's ask the obvious question first. Which one of you will give me the best buff if I smite you?
I don't feel like getting smited, so I'd probably recommend smiting Joe.
Do I get smarter if I smite Joe? Is that how this works?
I really doubt that.
Okay, all right, so we've had massive changes to the jungle every season, right? We go harder, we go easier, right? AoE guys get kicked out. Difficulty's increasing, but rewards are increasing as well. Why are we taking it this direction?
So the big thing here is we've kind of seen the jungle simplified season after season after season. Right now, it's actually a very mechanical role. It's about which jungler can pull off their ganks the best.
Yeah.
There's a whole ton of stuff that just junglers don't have to worry about anymore. You make the rewards cool, make camps punch you in the face, and you actually feel it. And all of a sudden, these things start to matter again.
Yeah, I really like that. The main change that you guys made means that junglers now have to actually think about how they're going through the jungle.
Yeah.
Before, in this last season, you could use the jungle just as a source of money. It didn't matter. You would kill whatever was closest to the gank target. And it was all about where am I setting up my gank? Because you're playing Lee Sin or you're playing Elise or something like that. But now you have to think about how are you going to get to that point because you're going to lose a lot of health along the way.
Yeah, it's like, what is my gank path? Well, I'm camping bottom, so double gold.
Yeah, exactly. Those are close.
That's my route, is let's do that over and over again.
Yeah, and the idea of like choosing your route is really important to us, especially when you're like choosing it per champion. We don't want to see this get solved instantly where it's like, okay, every jungler goes here, then here, then here. We want this to be something where every game, depending on who you're playing, who you're up against, you're picking different things and you're adjusting to the situation in your game, the other jungler.
It's actually pretty intimidating. When you first start out in the jungle right now.
My first game, I got killed really early.
I thought I would return to the old way. You start at your red buff,
Yeah.
and then you move on to the next camp. That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
Like you have to start at one of the small camps, and then you go into the red buff to get the health buff back. Things like that. It's pretty intimidating just to get into it, and it requires a lot of games just to kind of grasp it and understand it. And I think that's what a lot of people are going to experience is just that intimidation.
In just 3 games, we already saw people having to make these choices really early on. Like you have to start off with one of the side buffs that you get from smiting something early, like the toad poison or the Krug's stun on attack thing, just to be able to get through the jungle initially. But then later on, you have to think about things like True Sight from the Raptor camp, or are you going to get invaded on blue side and you need the little ghosty wolf watchdog thing?
Yeah.
The Rift Spirits. You want to be able to smite everything in this game now because there's so many rewards, but you have to really work around the smite cooldown now because you can't smite every camp. You can't get all of these rewards.
Like it's definitely longer.
Yeah.
Well, so you bring up something really good too, right? You're saying there are a lot of choices now with the smite, but it now goes even further, right? Upgrading the hunter's machete into the knife, the blade, the trailblazer, and the whatever the hell. I'll learn it at some point. Now, right? Like your smites change what they do, right? Like how has your experience been with that?
Well, when I went straight into my first game, I was like, oh, I can slow people, be extremely easy to gank them, let's go for this, and I done it. And it was a nice experience. It was rewarding in the sense that I slowed them, it made me close the distance easier on them. But then as I started playing more, I kind of grew in towards the kind of, I should farm more, I should just sit in the jungle early on because it is so beneficial with the AoE clear in the jungle. I thought it was extremely beneficial, and I found myself wanting to stay in the jungle until I got like that power spike at level 6 on whatever jungler I was playing.
Sure.
And that's the way I found it. I didn't really get to tackle the counter jungling yet. It's going to be a lot more, like I need to play it a lot more and kind of get a lot more games in and understand it, which I think everyone's going to have to do. Like you go your first game in.
I really think that's going to depend on what kind of team you're working with too. Counter jungling has always been a team activity. Yeah. But I think with this patch, you really have to have everybody on board to either protect you or go offensive. You really need to work with your laners. Right. Because if you buy that poaching smite and you are not able to use it in the enemy jungle, you're going to be at a huge disadvantage if the other guy goes Snoop's route, like the AoE clearing one that already has a lower cooldown. Snoop is going to be hard farming. He's going to be way stronger than you and ahead of you by the time you meet
You're
up
going to
with
walk into the jungle and his camps are going to be gone. You're going to be like, oh, I'm ready to smite this.
And he'll have all the money.
Yeah.
And actually, one thing you need to bear in mind is the respawn time on the camps is a lot longer. So when you're looking to do the poaching, you're looking to go in there, you have to be, it's like, the window to do that is a lot smaller now in a sense because the respawn times are a lot longer.
Yeah.
It's definitely a higher impact game in both ways. Like, if he gets the counter jungle off, you're having that impact for a much longer window. It's one of the reasons why you might actually do it this season compared to last season.
Like, if I'm over there.
But you can actually protect yourself against it for also longer windows. The kind of chess game there of trying to figure out where they think they're going to come after you, what you want to do to react to it. That's the really exciting part. That's the fun part. We're hoping to see where people are actually trying to figure each other out. Where there's a mental game there that hasn't been there in a while.
Yeah, I think that's why we all essentially, not you, Patrick, but why we became junglers.
We became junglers.
I might yet become a jungler. I'm thinking about it.
We'll see.
This last season, I really missed that poker game of trying to play your opponent and like try and figure out what kind of strategy he's going for. It's like, especially people in the competitive scene, like Snoopy, that got to know their jungling opponents really well. They could actually tailor what they were going to do in a game around who they were playing and what champion their opponents were using.
Specifically, like, I remember back into Season 2, I was playing against Diamond Prox, who basically innovated back in the day. He created the invading strategy where you counter jungle really heavily, and I had to think of a way to punish that. And I knew every single game going into it, I knew he was going to do it. And eventually, I sussed it out. I was like, I'm going to play a jungler that's got crowd control. It's weaker in the 1v1, but it has crowd control. So I played Maokai, and essentially, I would just lock him down for my mid laner to come and support me, and we'll take him out. And we did that in a game. We won a game against Moscow 5. The nostalgia. I'm kidding you.
People watching are like, the hell is that team? No.
And I love how that was such a strong strategy even at that time so long ago. But now there are tools that you can use to even make that strategy stronger. Like, he can take this AoE smite that's going to heal him in the jungle. He can control defensive vision by controlling the little scuttle crabs in the river.
I definitely hear a lot of what you guys are saying, where this is going to be a little more team focused at the higher levels in how you're going to do what you do, because you and also just kind of some of the champions that you like to play. You know, you're saying, well, I might want to power farm and get to 6, but you. I know you can hit level 2 real early and go hard on a lane, and they won't expect it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a lot of benefits for the tanky junglers this time around, which I'm really happy about. You know, things like a Mumu and Maokai and stuff are gonna come back because they have that CC that's always going to be essential for a team. But also, because people are not expecting earlier ganks because the jungle's so much harder, you can take things like Jarvan and just do one single camp. Since all the camps give you the same experience now, you get your level 2 and you go for an extremely early gank.
I want to get in here and ask a question. We've touched on a little bit of our opinions here, but the community has been asking, when are we going to get these Nautiluses, these Skarners, these tank junglers back, right? And you also have another subsect of the community being like, oh, but I want my carry junglers. I thought they were going to be good. You have some people that like to play things like Diana in the jungle that were like, I like the AP junglers, right? So what have we done for those people? You can choose your smites, right? But what have we done to make sure that you have the path to do that?
Right. So any of the smite items, any of the it's like tier 2 jungle items, you put an enchant on them and give them your mid to late game stats off the jungle item. So you can say, I want to be a tank, so I'm going to take the tanky one. You can take the AP one, you can take the AD one, you can take our kind of like almost feral flare attack speed, crazy proc one. Yeah. Grows up as you farm it. We want to create a space for all of those playstyles still. And we also want to make sure it's also kind of reactive, right? Like a Lee Sin that goes nuts in the start of the game and wants to just keep killing people. Buy the AD, keep killing people.
Take the damage one and keep doing it.
Right. Get invaded by Udyr, you know, die 8 times. Maybe take the tank one, see what you can do and exist.
Exist.
You know.
Also,
tanks just exist.
Yeah, and it's interesting because currently what people would do if the enemy jungler was just going to hard farm their jungler, then you would have all these really strong ganking junglers that would punish you for it. And you would be able to get off free ganks on all of the lanes because he wouldn't be counter ganking because he's trying to farm his jungle. But now, with all of these really heavy damage junglers not having access to Spirit Stone, it means that their choices of when to gank and how to gank are going to be a lot harder, and they're going to have to think about it a lot further in the future.
Yeah, I mean,
To me, that lends, though, I think it lends to people farming more. This is the one thing that I'm concerned about. I mean, I need a lot more games is playing in the jungle, but I think it's going to lend to junglers wanting just to farm more and perhaps even having supports create those kind of opportunities and create aggressive plays on the lanes and things like that. I think that may be roaming supports, basically your Taric or your Braum or your Leona or whatever it is. Braum, yeah.
I'm a Braum fan, I'm sorry.
Is essentially, I think we might see more roaming supports, and I think junglers will stick to farming specifically in the early game. I think it makes more sense. We'll see if it pans out, but that's my instinct.
I think that comes just from like, for a long time, the jungler has been so powerful, and because of the Spirit Stone items, like, there was never a chance you would find one that was weak or worth fighting.
Yeah.
By having some points of weakness, the same way that laners are going to have points of weakness, there is a reason to ever invade. It was really just the wrong choice for most of Season 4, almost all the time, unless you had a lot of vision and could set up something really huge. One of the goals was to make windows of vulnerability so we can see some action, so we can see invasion as a real strategy that someone could have.
Invasions, roaming supports, this sounds like the kind of world that I want to live in. So hopefully it comes true. Guys, thank you for taking the time out to sit on this couch and exist in nebulous space with me. Anyway, that does it for the rundown. The jungle may be getting harder than that last promo series, but hopefully you're well equipped with knives, sabers, blades, and whatever the hell a trailblazer is. For Fearless, Kobe, Snoopy, and myself, stay safe and don't die to red buff.